All right, good morning, and hope everybody's doing well. So I told myself the first car I get this morning that's not a Honda, I'm going to make a video on it, and I got a Mazda 5. So if you all don't know, I used to be a Mazda tech at a Mazda dealership for a period of time, and these Mazda 5s are really uh, real money makers on suspension work. But yeah, anyways, this complaint is there's a clunking noise in the back, so we're gonna go for a test drive and see what it is. So let me put on my seatbelt and go for a drive around the parking lot before I take it out onto the road and see if I hear anything. Let me use my other hand, flip it around. Yep. So these Mazda 5s, they either break springs in the back or they break shocks. And I say shocks because they're the part where it mounts onto on the top of the shock absorber on the rear is aluminum, and they corrode and then they completely break apart, and you get a clunking noise, or you get a creaking noise when you go over bumps because that spring is rubbing against the seat because it broke or something. But yeah, those are usually what it is. Let me see if I can hit a couple bumps here. I can already hear it. It's going tick, tick, tick. Yeah, definitely broken shock absorber. I don't even need to hit a bump. I can just go side to side, and then you can hear it clattering around in the back. So I think I hear all that I need to. There you go. Oh yeah, you can definitely hear it. I don't know how well that catches on the camera, but I'm gonna bring it to the shop and then we'll take a look underneath and see what's broken. I'm pretty sure it's the rear shock absorber on the trunk here, or not the trunk. I mean the shock absorber on the left rear. Yeah, you can hear it rattling around. Here, you hear that? Yep, there it is. All right. Okay, we're in the shop now. Okay, I'll put it on the hoist and I'll have a look underneath and I'll bring you guys along. Okay, before we get underneath the car, we're just gonna start underneath the hood first. Excuse the voice because I'm sick again. But one thing I noticed is it cranks very slowly, so it probably has a bad battery. I'll go ahead and test that battery later. But over here there's this orangey stuff, and you're wondering what that orange stuff is. That's actually this engine mount. It's filled, but if you go on the top here and you push down on it, right, it's empty. Usually it's kind of squishy, there's stuff in it, but all that orangey stuff is what's leaked out of it, and it's all dried up. The other thing is this belt is cracked, so it also needs a belt. I don't know if you can see that. You can see cracks in the belt. So that's also no good. So battery, engine mount, and then a belt. So, all right, let's check everything else underneath. But yeah, anyways, if you're wondering, these motors are the other stuff that goes wrong with these is the timing chain goes out of phase, because these are all you got to lock the cam and crank before you time it, and it's held in by the bolts, and over time I guess they go out of timing, and then what I do is usually you just loosen all the bolts, put the manager's here. So the other thing with these Mazda engines, and the guys at Ford probably knows this, because these cam and cranks aren't keyed, so over time these engines will go out of timing. And what we usually do is we pop the timing cover off, take the valve cover off, put the cam and crank locking tools to lock the cam and crank, and then we loosen all the cam bolts, right, and then the crank bolt, spin the chain, and then you retorque all the bolts down, and then yeah, the engine is timed again. And that was a common thing that we were doing at Mazda on these engines, because over time they go out of timing, and yeah, that's usually just a fix. And yeah, anyways, that's a little bit of information on what I used to do back at Mazda. Okay, so I'll take the wheels off later, but let me show you what I was talking about on the test drive. So if you look at your shock absorber, this part is aluminum and it's bolted to the body. This part will break, and then you get your clunking noise. So now I'll take you over to the other side and I'll show you what it looks like. So yeah, right here, this thing's completely broken, and it's just all it is just hidden around, right? So the nuts are still there, I think. So we'll take those nuts, we'll replace this shock absorber. That's yeah, it's very common on the Mazda 5, Mazda 3s. They always break like that. So yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and take the wheels off and do the rest of the inspection and see what else I find. Okay, where do I start? Let's start in the front. So you can see this control arm bushing. You can see it's broken there. Actually, here, there's a better look on it on this side. So you can see it's already broken on this side. Not so bad on this side yet, but it is starting to. Yeah, it's like I said, these Mazda 3s, Mazda 5s they're gravy for suspension work. Other than the control arms, if you look over here, CV boot is leaking. It's not too bad. So a little bit of leakage there. How about the other side? Yeah, okay on this side. Okay, now going down to the back here. What I like to check is these trailing arm bushings. They like to separate. Not so much on the Mazda 5s, but the Mazda 3s. Oh man, they always separate and they break and they start hitting the body and you get a clunking noise. So those bushings, you should always check those. And then over here, if you have a Mazda 5, right, and the seat has collapsed and then you get a creaking noise when you're going over bumps, it's this spring rubbing against this. So if you have a creaking noise and you can't find out what it is, and you see little wear marks on the spring, it's actually just rubbing against this top part of the spring seat. So you just got to replace the rubber. The other thing you want to check is make sure that thing is still there, because they always break, and this thing you don't see that part of the spring anymore. So then you know it's broken. You got a broken spring inside. Usually they just hang around inside this lower control arm, and then you'll find it in there. But usually easy way to check is I check see if the spring is still. You can still see it through this hole. Same thing on this side. See, you can see it in the hole. So the bottom part of that spring isn't broken. Same thing on this side if it's rubbing. I don't know. It's only on the Mazda 5s that makes that creaking noise when you go over bumps, and that spring is just a collapsed upper seat, I guess. So yeah. Anyways, that's pretty much under here. This is what it all looks like. Other than that, it's just getting an oil change, and then yeah, we got to price quote all the parts that it needs. All right, so we put the car back together because, first of all, still waiting for approval from the customer, and then also we're a Honda dealership, so we won't keep these parts in stock. But if it was a Mazda, we had these shocks and lower control arms ready to available because they were so common on the Mazda 5 and the Mazda 3s. So, anyways, I'll bring you back if this job gets approved. And yeah, we'll do the repair video. We got approval on engine mount, drive belt, the battery, and then the rear shocks. But yeah, other than that, I just want to show you where this engine mount is leaking, in case you're all wondering. There's basically, when I said it was kind of like, usually it's kind of squishy up here, you can feel that liquid that's in there, and that's where it's completely leaked out of. So that's where it's leaking from. So what I want to do now is I'm just gonna support the engine underneath, change this engine mount. While I'm there, I'm also gonna change this belt. So yeah, once you remove this engine mount, you got plenty of space to do your belt up here. Also, if you want, you can also remove the wheels, right, and then help route your belt over the crank down here. So it's only like 2 bolts and a clip, so you can get that out easy. So yeah, once you remove that engine mount, you can just take the belt out pretty easily. So yeah, I think the next thing, I guess I should put that engine mount in, change the battery, and then we'll go ahead and remove those rear shocks and replace them. Here's the aftermarket engine mount. This one is not filled. It's not silicone filled, because you can feel it and it's, you know, hard. The other one, usually when I go and touch it, it's kind of squishy. So that's the aftermarket one. The only downside is maybe you get a little bit of vibration. You can also get just the center part as it is, but you have to chisel or unfold that piece of metal around the original bracket of your OEM one, and then you got to fold the new one onto this bracket. In my opinion, it's gonna have to be tight so it doesn't move around, and I don't think it's worth trying to attempt it. That's my opinion. So you can get it in aftermarket, and you can just get the center part, and then you can, you know, this is metal. It's pretty hard metal, but trying to fold it back over, you gotta make sure that it doesn't move around. It's gotta have to be very tight. So it's a little bit cheaper, but I don't think it's worth it. If any of you are using aftermarket parts, make sure they come with the mount that goes on the top. Apparently they're sold separately, but I think I remember if it was a Mazda OEM one, the top mount comes with the shock absorber. So yeah, make sure you double check your aftermarket shocks that it actually comes with a mount. While we're waiting for those mounts, just make sure these studs are okay, because they're on the body. So if you don't have these studs, or they're, you know, completely rusted away and they're gone, you're gonna have to find some way to mount the top part onto the body, because that's the only thing that's holding it. But other than that, these are pretty easy, right? Other than the two studs on top where it mounts to, and then the 117mm bolt that it mounts on the bottom, and they just come right out. So pretty simple. Yeah, just make sure those studs are okay. So we're still waiting for the shock absorber mount, but these studs are still looking okay. Don't really need to jack up this back part, because the shock is actually long enough that you can just remove it without, you know, compressing the spring. But yeah, I'm not sure about the aftermarket one. They might, you know, aftermarket there's always some differences. They might be a little shorter, might be a little longer, who knows. But yeah, for the OEM one, they come out without needing to jack up the suspension to, you know, in case it drops out or drops down or something, you know what I mean. But here, let me show you the one I took out. These things get pretty thin around here. It's aluminum, and then they break. So yeah, that's what that looks like. All right, so now we got the boot kit, the mount and everything. So I just take off that bracket here. There we go. So we got the boot and the bump stop in there, and then also we got the mount. So we're gonna put that all together. All right, so that's the shock assembled. Right, so let's go ahead and put this in the car. So this aftermarket shock is a little bit shorter, so I had to jack it up with the floor jack. I could have used a tranny jack, but my the guy two hoists down is using it to do a clutch on a Civic. So yeah, anyways, so I got to jack it up a little bit to get it into the studs, because yeah, it's a little bit shorter. So one more thing before I end this video. So if you did change the battery and you don't have a battery saver, you see the temperature is in Fahrenheit, or, you know, vice versa, or your, oh, why is it so blurry? But yeah, if your temperature is, you know, showing Fahrenheit and you want to change it to Celsius, or vice versa, so how to change that is you see your climate control auto button, you just press and hold it, and then it should change back, and that's how you do it. So if you change your battery and you didn't put a memory saver on it, and you're trying to figure out how to change your temperature back to, you know, Fahrenheit or Celsius, yeah, just hold the auto button on your climate control. So yeah, I guess that's the end of the video. So if you do have a Mazda 5 with broken rear shock mounts on the back and it's clunking around, I hope this video helps, you know, maybe try and attempt to replace those shocks, because honestly, those shocks are pretty easy to replace. And yeah, other than that, I just gonna go on my test drive and yeah, make sure everything's good, and then that should be it. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I thank you guys for watching. Please hit that like and subscribe button down below, or wherever it is on the YouTube screen, I guess. And yeah, and I'll see you next time.